Selin. I'm running for the 4th Ward in Morgantown City Council. I live about a block behind Krebs Park. I raised my 3 kids here. I have 1 grandson who's 6. So I'm kind of framing my view of the city as a council person who's listened to people talk about Morgantown for many years, and also as a resident of Morgantown and a person who's lived here for close to 30 years. So I serve on the Parks Board, and I serve on the Chamber's Transportation Committee. I serve on Sunny Side Up, and lots of other transportation oriented and recreation oriented groups like the Health and Wellness Commission. So I think I have a pretty well-rounded view of Morgantown at this point, and I have lots of enthusiasm, lots of projects that have not yet been completed, like at the airport with the runway extension and the business park that I would like to call the Innovation Park. And I just really enjoy living in Morgantown and enjoy the residents of Morgantown and enjoy supporting both the neighborhoods and the businesses in our area. So, so I'm asking for your vote, and I'm running for the 8th time. I'm definitely a veteran, and with several people choosing not to run this time, I would consider myself very excited about Morgantown, and also having some experience and some knowledge of the projects that we've been working on. So first question is about traffic, and how traffic issues might be resolved in Morgantown. And I think that's an interesting question, because if I could have solved the traffic issues in Morgantown, I would be very popular person. I've worked hard through the last 10-year plan, which included transportation, and now we're starting the next 10-year plan. We'll continue to work on transportation. So currently we're working on projects with the state on, as most of the roads, the main roads that go through Morgantown and through this area happen to be state roads. So we're working on projects, as everyone here probably knows, on the Mile Ground, on Beechhurst, some spot improvements, so improvements at the intersection to help with traffic, and projects on Greenbag Road. I've been on different study groups for those projects, and try, whenever we hear about something being stuck at the state level, to lend my voice to getting projects unstuck and moving forward. So this requires collaboration between political entities, and requires looking at the long run, because transportation projects nearly always take a long time. So I don't have many other suggestions besides continuing to plan and continuing to work with the state and bring home every dollar that we can from the state toward fixing our roads and making improvements. As far as on the city roads, we have with our fee money from our safety fee money, we have been working on paving roads, and we're on a schedule where we will attempt to pave all of the roads within a reasonable amount of time. And it used to be that it would be sort of an indefinite amount of time, and we had a very, very small paving budget. And now our paving budget has increased at least 4-fold, and we are working very hard this year. Last year we didn't get to pave because of COVID, but this year we are working double time to pave even more roads. A subpart of this question is what infrastructure improvements do you foresee as necessary to promote long-term growth? And infrastructure is such a broad term that I just want to make sure that we had addressed that. So infrastructure would be runway extension. Infrastructure would be making sure that the MUB project at the reservoir, the new reservoir with new water source, is completed. Working on roadways, working on our park system and making sure our park system is updated and we improve our pools and remake our ice rink and work on some new projects dealing with mountain biking and having sustainable trails and making connections between the neighborhoods and the rail trail system so that people can really enjoy the part of living in a city that is fabulous, which is being able to walk or bike or take a short drive to connect to your local businesses. So I appreciate that question. Question regarding housing. How would you go about making housing affordable for people who have never owned a home before? And then looking at getting people off the streets and out of tent villages and into a place where they can feel safe and without the threat of eviction. And I really appreciate those two questions because they have come up quite a bit lately. The issue about housing and housing through the income levels from people who are just starting out and needing housing to people who are purchasing their second or third homes. It's a very difficult issue because land in the city is at a premium. There's not a lot of undeveloped land in the city that we can say, oh, we'll just make affordable housing units. We're dealing a lot with redevelopment and getting land back into reuse. We have a land reuse commission that works on getting land back into use for additional housing units. And we have a new housing study that looks at this issue of housing and how people often need to go outside our limits to find affordable housing. And at this point, that's kind of a fact of life, but we also need to encourage those newer housing units and renovations and getting as many houses, especially when we have vacant or dilapidated properties, getting those back into use. And working with all the different housing groups to encourage the development of new housing. And also we're looking at the Ramada Inn project for finding places for people who need temporary shelter on their way to finding that first home or apartment. And also the possibility of a tiny home village in our area and other kinds of innovative looks at housing and having a place for people to stay who need temporary shelter. And I think if people aren't familiar with the Ramada Inn project, there's going to be, within that project, there's going to be food provided. There's going to be, the Bartlett House has already moved in. The city is working on a sobering center, a place where people can temporarily be until they're sober so that they don't have to go out to Doddridge and or try to go to a hospital, which often doesn't want to watch inebriated people. So this is a place where people could come and become sober and have connection to sobering type of resources. This is interesting. The major concern of any business is predictability and stability. I would say that businesses need predictability and stability. They also need a really great place to be, and they need markets of people, and they need transportation to get in and out, so on. So I agree with these facts that the city's population is now dwarfed by the county's population, and that is true, but we're also still the center of the community, and we are still have the same landmass that we had at that point, and we are working with what we have. So my working knowledge of the budget, business and occupation tax, and general revenue collections, Business and occupation tax and general revenue are kind of what we have had to work with over time. And most cities and other areas rely on property taxes and other tax measures to fund their cities. In West Virginia, we're very limited on how we can fund cities' revenue. We had in the past about a $24 million budget, which is very hard to keep up roads, as we talked about before, very hard to pay pensions, very hard to run an entire city on $24 million. So over time, as under home rule, as we were allowed to, and we were late adopters, we have adopted user fee and sales tax. The user fee we use to fund roads and police and safety. And the sales tax has been centered, and that's a new tax. Many other cities adopted that, I don't know, 4 years ago or more. Sales tax, our sales tax, we're working on paying pensions and updating our parks and recreation. Lots of our parks and recreation was paid for many years ago, and we have not had enough funds to keep them up. And so now under our sales tax, we are going to have the funds to upgrade our pools and help to redo our ice rink and other areas such as our ball fields. So these have been very important to us and are something that all the cities in West Virginia have been utilizing because we have been underfunded compared to cities of similar size in other areas. So I think that we're doing the best that we can with what we have. I'm very positive about the city's future and the fact that we can pay our pension funds. And I guess the last part of the question is, this is a wide-ranging question. Last part of the question is looking at our the lawsuits that are currently developing or have been developing. I think what happens with lawsuits is they are part of the cost of doing business. We take lawsuits in the city very seriously. We work hard to address them each individually, and it takes time to work through the court system. So I think that we appreciate private property owner rights, and we rarely have problems with those rights. We appreciate our fire and police, and we are working through each of those issues individually, and they will all take time to resolve. They won't be resolved in the next couple of months. The competitiveness of businesses within the city is excellent issue. I think that any exodus that's happened from the city since 1970 has been because have very small city limits. The available land to develop new business sites is generally outside the city. And so there has been an exodus in part because that's where new developments happen and people like new beautiful places to conduct business. And so they will move to those places as they become available. And how we attract businesses and residents to return to the city of Morgantown is by improving the amenities within the city, by making it more attractive for cleaner, safer, more connected to the neighborhood, so that it's a joy to live in the city because you can hop on a rail trail and get to the downtown, or you can walk to commercial development easily from where you live. Certain people love that type of a lifestyle. And those are the people that we're going to need to make sure that we continue to have those type of residents who will frequent local businesses. And the more housing that we have that's mixed with the commercial developments, then you have your customers living right above. That's kind of the city lifestyle, that people will live right above the businesses that they frequent, and create that connectivity. And it's very hopeful that the Hotel Morgan has been renovated, that the downtown, that the amphitheater at the waterfront is being has been renovated and is being programmed for more use once we get a little bit less COVID, and just really making our city, with our Met Theater, with our wonderful businesses that are in the downtown, and amenities like the library and the History Museum, sort of part of the fabric of the community. And so attract new businesses and continue to have the businesses that we have. And I think as we work through each section of town, and this year is the year of our new comprehensive plan, as we look at different strategies for how, like with Sunny Side Up, that I'm part of the board, how we make each area conducive to redevelopment and development, and how we just continue to make those connections between things so that our city has sort of paint a good canvas, so that then businesses will want to be part of it. Just wanted to mention also that I am on the MAP board as part of Sunny Side Up, and I very much enjoyed hearing from business owners and hearing about the different projects that are being worked on, and that the more connection that there can be between businesses and the city of Morgantown about what will make the city more attractive, the better. Safety is something that people are very concerned about, and people really care about if their neighborhood feels safe, if the downtown feels safe, how they can kind of get to know their neighbor, how they can get to know the business owner. And I really think that we have a great place in getting better for having communication between our police officers and the public. The downtown, we have a lot of good communication and would like to have more. And other areas where people, some people are looking at street lighting. I would like to see more street lighting along the rail trail, along the river, to connect and have people feel safe going between the hotel and the different businesses along the rail trail. And just other issues where people can be more connected and support each other in a business sense, and also in a personal sense. So that's what makes Morgantown attractive to me. And I think going into the future, we're going to see that will continue. I guess the other issue that we have really focused on last year is making ourselves into as much of an arts community as we can. We have an arts community already, but now we're getting the state designation, and we're putting some oomph behind our arts program, and really working on getting the Met set up to regain its place once COVID's over, and also working with all the different entities to have the waterfront amphitheater, the Hazel Ruby McQueen amphitheater that's newly renovated, have a more prominent place in the fabric of the downtown, and connecting the Wharf District with the downtown, and just making Morgantown a more vibrant place. Thank you.